Schwarzbard's parents were among the 15 members of his family murdered in the pogroms in Odessa. The court defense of the Schwarzbard trial was, as presented by the noted jurist Henry Torres, that he was avenging the deaths of more than 50,000 Jewish victims of the pogroms. 1921. Famine is going to rage in the Ukraine. 1.5 million Ukrainians are going to starve to death in the first famine. The first Holomodor. You got the first Holomodor and the second Holomodor. The goddamn Bolsheviks have been taking and stealing fucking food since the beginning. 1921 to 1922. So the first Holomodor is going to kill 1.5 million Ukrainians. February 1921, Vladimir Antonov Ovsyanko was sent to Tambov as chairman of the Plenipotentiary Commission to end the uprising. The commission reported directly to Lenin. It was directly under his authority. Antonov Ovsyanko targeted the civilian supporters of the rebels and the suppression of the insurgency. He ordered, with prior approval of Lenin, a wave of deportations and hostage shootings. February 22, 1921, after Russian forces under Baron Roman von Ungern Sternberg drive the Chinese out, the Bagad Khan is reinstalled as the Khan title, called Emperor of Mongolia. February 23rd to March 17th, 1921, the Kronstadt Mutiny. The Reds are going to kill thousands. Thousands. And what did the Kronstadt sailors, what did they want? They were there at the fucking original goddamn, revolution. The Kronstadt sailors. The Kronstadt. The Kronstadt sailors were there in the very beginning at the, March and November revolutions. The Russian Revolution wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the Kronstadt sailors. Well, the reason why Trotsky and Lenin and Stalin had to kill all these, Kronstadt sailors was because they demanded 15 things. You ready for what they were demanding? Number one, in view of the fact that present Soviets do not express the will of the workers and peasants, immediately to hold new elections by secret ballot to the pre-election campaign, to have full freedom of agitation among the workers and peasants, to establish freedom of speech and press for workers and peasants, for anarchists and left socialist parties, to secure freedom of assembly for labor unions and peasant organizations, to call a nonpartisan conference of the workers, Red Army soldiers and sailors of Petrograd, Kronstadt, and of Petrograd province no later than March 10th, 1921, to liberate all political prisoners of socialist parties, as well as all workers, peasants, soldiers, and sailors imprisoned in connection with the labor and peasant movements, to elect a commission to review the cases of those held in prisons and concentration camps, to abolish all political bureaus, because no party should be given special privileges in the propagation of its ideas or receive the financial support of the government for such purposes. Instead, there should be established educational and cultural commissions, locally elected and financed by the government, to abolish immediately all Zagryadi Tetelniye Hatriadi Bolshevik units armed to suppress traffic, confiscate foodstuffs. Oh, wow. Yeah, to abolish the fucking Bolshevik. They're stealing our goddamn food. Yeah, the Bolsheviks fucking stealing food program. Let's abolish the Bolsheviks stealing the peace, land, and bread. Their anti-peace, land, and bread program. To equalize the rations of all who work, with the exception of those employed in trades detrimental to health. To abolish the Bolshevik fighting detachments in all branches of the army, as well as the Bolshevik guards kept on duty in mills and factories. Should such guards or military detachments be found necessary, there are to be appointed in the army from the ranks and in the factories according to the judgment of the workers, to give the peasants full freedom of action in regard to their land, and also the right to keep cattle on condition that the peasants manage with their own means, that is, without employing hired labor. To request all branches of the army, as well as our comrades, the military cursanti, to concur in our resolutions, to demand that the press give the fullest publicity to our resolutions, to appoint a traveling commission of control, to permit free Kastarnoyi, individual small-scale production by one's own efforts. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, not for everybody, just for the labor unions and the peasant organizations, to allow the peasants and the workers to be able to run for office and to have elections. So they're saying, have a liberal democracy. My God, how many fucking times has Lenin and Trotsky and Stalin kill fucking democracy? God damn, how many fucking times does the light of democracy die in the land of the fucking Russo, fucking Jesus Christ, to liberate the political prisoners of socialist parties and the workers and the soldiers and the peasants. My God, to elect a commission so that we can have a judicial branch, right? And then they're saying to get rid of political bureaus. What the fuck? What, the goddamn Politburo? To abolish all the, motherfucking stealing, food stealing, goddamn. Well, you're not even helping the people out anymore to equalize the rations of all who work, with the exception. They abolish the Bolshevik fighting detachments to give the peasants full freedom of action in regard to their land, the right to keep cattle. My God, yeah, they're stealing their fucking land, they're stealing their fucking grains, they're stealing their fucking cows, to request all the branches of the army, to demand that the press give the fullest publicity to our resolutions, to appoint a traveling commission of control, and to permit small-scale production by one's own efforts. Jesus fucking Christ. This shit's obvious. This shit is obvious. Stepan Petrichenko, anarchist sailor of the Ukrainian origin who chaired the Provisional Revolutionary Committee during the Kronstadt Revolt. Stepan Petrichenko. All right, that's too many syllables. Too many syllables, man. Too many syllables. Trotsky, chair of the Revolutionary War Council. La-di-da-di-da, the Kronstadt Rebellion. So yeah, Trotsky wasn't going to have the Stalin. They were like, what? You want freedom of speech? You want the elections? You want freedom of speech? The right to bear arms too, probably, right? What do you want? The fuck American Bill of Rights? Why don't you just go to America then, motherfuckers? You want all the American freedoms? Then go to America. We're giving you bread, food, and peace by taking your bread, food, and peace. You sons of bitches. This is a Russian Revolution going on around here, don't you know? Don't you know? Can't you see the winds of time? Can't you see that we're going to be the fucking winners? It's be like, okay, they fucking took the government and then la-di-da, let them run their country. Fucking shit, everybody. Settle down. They're the Russians now. Let them run the country. Wouldn't that have been a lot easier if everybody would just got in line? So Trotsky killed thousands of the Kronstadt sailors. He said they were the, creme de la creme. They were the diamond. They were the cherry on top of the Russian Revolution. There's nothing better than the Kronstadt sailors. Can we have a right to speak? Pow, 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 you son of a bitch. So, yeah, for the Bolshevik communists, even their best soldiers, they did not respect. They didn't even respect their best soldiers. Instead of giving you a Medal of Honor, here's 2 to the dome. I thought you were going to give me a medal. No siree. Just capital punishment. But why? Nobody would see it coming, and just kind of cleans up all loose ends. February 25th, 1921, to Tbilisi, capital of the Democratic Republic of Georgia. Soviet invasion in Georgia, called occupied by Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, called Bolshevist Russia. Oh, come on. To Tbilisi, the Republic of Georgia. Soviet invasion of Georgia, okay, in March 1921. At a meeting of his faction at the 10th Party Congress in March 1921, Lenin's faction won a decisive victory, and a number of Trotsky's supporters, including all 3 secretaries of the Central Committee, lost their leadership positions. Krestinsky was replaced as a member of the Politburo by Zinoviev, who had supported Lenin. Krestinsky's place in the secretariat was taken by Vyacheslav Molotov. The Congress also adopted Molotov. Is that Molotov cocktail? The Congress also adopted a secret resolution on party unity, which banned factions within the party except during pre-Congress discussions. The resolution was later published and used by Stalin against Trotsky and other opponents. March 18th, 1921, the Treaty of Riga. The Treaty of Riga defined the borders of Soviet Russia and Poland. March 13th, 1921, Mongolia is proclaimed an independent monarchy ruled by Russian military officer Roman von Ungern Sternberg as a dictator. March 17th, 1921, Second Republic of Poland adopts the March Constitution. March 18th, 1921, the Second Peace of Riga, signed between Poland and the Soviet Union in March 1921 during a related conflict with Poland. The Peace of Riga is signed, splitting disputed territories in Belarus and Ukraine between the Republic of Poland and Soviet Russia. Soviet Russia had to resolve similar conflicts with the newly established republics of Estonia and Finland and Latvia and Lithuania and Poland. The Treaty of Riga was met with criticism from the very beginning. Some characterized the treaty as short-sighted and argued that much of what Poland had gained during the Polish-Soviet War was lost during the peace negotiations. March 31st, 1921, Abkhazia becomes the Socialist Soviet Republic of Abkhazia. So that's interesting. South Ossetia and Abkhazia were separate regions, so there is some justification for their breakaway, them breaking away from Georgia. Serbian King Alexander I of Serbia, known as Alexander I, proclaimed the new constitution, the Kingdom of the Serbs, Croats, and Slovenes, known thereafter as the Vidovdan Constitution, June 28, 1921. The Vidovdan Constitution. U.S. President Warren G. Harding appoints former President William Howard Taft Chief Justice of the United States of America. The United Kingdom's war with Hungary ends July 26, 1921. The 29th of July movement in 1921 was making Adolf Hitler the leader of the Nazi Party. Good fucking job, you Nationalist Socialist Germans Workers' Party, you son of a fucking bitch. Fucking German working socialist sons of bitches. October 13th, the Soviet Republics of Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic Russia. You have Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia. They signed the Treaty of Kars with the Grand Wizard. So this is the makings. They're coming closer to the USSR. They're coming closer to the USSR. Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. These are going to be crucial at the end of 1922 when the USSR becomes, Belarus and the Ukraine and Azerbaijan, Georgia, and Armenia. So the founding members would be 6 in Belarus, 5 or 6 Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia. October 18th, 1921, the Crimean Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic is formed as part of the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic. October 19th, 1921, the Portuguese Prime Minister Antonio Granjo and other politicians are murdered in a Lisbon bloody night, in a coup, the Lisbon coup, a bloody night called coup. October 19th, that happened, the Portuguese Prime Minister. They killed him. October 19th, 1921. October 21st, 1921, President Warren G. Harding delivers the first speech by a sitting U.S. president against lynching in the Deep South. It took till 1921. 1921, October 29th, the Link River Dam, a part of the Klamath Reclamation Project, is completed. October 29th, the second trial of Sacco and Vanzetti happens in the US of A. July 2nd. What? Well, we're going to have to move this one. But the U.S. Senate did not ratify the treaty despite support for it. Did not formally end its involvement in World War I until the Knox-Porter Resolution, which was signed July 2nd, 1921. Whoops! Okay, so you thought we ended it on the armistice or the Treaty of Versailles, the 14 points. Nope. No, the Knox-Porter Resolution. Yeah. Remember that July 2nd, 1921 affair? Anyways, October 25th, the Link River Dam happened after that. October 25th, 1921, the Podilia Group began the campaign. October 25th, 1921, they began the campaign, met with early success. The Podilia, it first engaged and destroyed a Soviet cavalry regiment, used the captured equipment to transform itself into a cavalry unit. Wow, the Podilia Group is kicking ass. It continued on to the village of Vakinivka. The village of Vakinivka, 60 kilometers north of Kyiv, before being forced back by Soviet forces. October 29th, already mentioned, November 1921, Second Winter Campaign. The last action of the UNR against the Soviets was a raid behind the Red Army lines, November 1921. It's known as the Second Winter Campaign. This campaign was meant to incite, it's the Second Winter War, right? First Winter War, Second Winter War. The campaign was meant to incite a general uprising amongst the Ukrainian peasants. The Ukrainian peasants are the biggest loser in World War I and the Bolshevik communist takeover, who were already disgruntled with the Soviets, and to unify partisan forces against the Bolsheviks in Ukraine. The commander of the Ukrainian forces was Yuri Tyutyunik. 2 expeditionary forces were established, one from Podolia, 400 men, and one from Volhynia, 800 men. The Podolia group only made it to the village of Vakinivka before returning to Polish territory through Volhynia on November 29th. The Volhynia group started out on November 4th, captured Kronstadt on November 7th, and made its way to the village of Leonivka. When they began to run low on supplies, they decided to return. However, on its return west, they were intercepted by a Bolshevik cavalry force under the command of Grigor Katovsky at Bazar, and routed in battle near Mali Minky on November 17th. 443 soldiers were captured by the Soviets during that battle. 359 were shot and killed. November 23rd, near the town of Bazar, and 84 were passed on to Soviet security forces. This was the last operation of the UNR army against the Soviets. So fucking shit, they were winning. They kept on getting one town then another town, but when they said, let's go back home, that's when another fucking Soviet army from out of fucking nowhere got them. So the end of the Second War brought the Ukrainian-Soviet War to a definite end. Partisan fighting against the Bolsheviks continued until the mid-1922 in response to the Red Army terrorizing the countryside. November 4th, 1921, the Volhynia Group began operations on November 4th. It met with early successes. It won the city of Kronstadt, was unable to defend it. When news of the retreat of the Podilia Group became known, the Volhynia Group also forced to retreat west. However, it was encircled by Hori Katovsky's cavalry. Is that the same guy? Yeah, instead of G, it's H. Georgy, or is that what we're saying? Georgy Katovsky Cavalry Regiment near the village of Bazar. After a brief battle, most of the regiment was captured or killed. November 22nd, 359 members of the Volhynia Regiment were executed by firing squad. The remaining prisoners were handed over to Soviet authorities. Only 120 soldiers and officers escaped. November 29th, 1921, the Podilia Group was forced to retreat west across the Polish border on November 29. And December, nothing happened in December 1921. It was real quiet December. Real quiet December. So ends off. The Ukrainian nationalist resistance ends off in a big winter. They lose the first winter war, the second winter war. Every single one of them have lost. Every single one of them. The Central Rada, the Directorate, the Don Cossacks, even the fucking white royalist forces, Denikin and fucking Kaledin and Denikin and Wrangel. They killed all those fucking sailors in the Kronstadt Mutiny. How dare you demand free speech? So, because they were able to call this in the name of revolution, and, when it comes to history, if it's cloaked by revolution, a lot of this shit does get swept under the rug. So this is, This is all for a Fred Hampton leftist's critique on, the Bolshevik, communist, fucking Russian Revolution. I've always, admired the fucking Bolsheviks, the socialists, whatever. I'm actually technically not a communist. So it makes me wonder, can you go to war with an idea? Because it's like, I'm not a communist. I'm a democratic socialist. I'm not a communist. But the main reason I say that, because I believe in the, means of production given to the workers and the factories, and the workers and the peasants should own everything and control everything. So basically the tenets I agree with. The biggest, I forget where I'm going with this. The reason why I'm not a communist, the reason why I'm a democratic socialist is because when it comes to land reform, I believe if everybody had their own, their own acre or two, or, 5 or 10 or 20, if everybody owned some land, if everybody had their own house, I think this is good for Germany. You own your own property, you own your own land, you own your own house, then you're able to establish yourself and, save your property and then build wealth. And that's how families grow. And it's good for a lot of things. It's good for civilization, taxes. It's good for a lot of things. Security, a lot of things. My God. But, it's good for, civilization. Let's just stick with that. So for civilization's sake, I think if everybody had a piece of land and a house and they, said that that's theirs, I don't think they would be communistic. I think it's good to love everybody and love the world, but the whole world, everybody, you got to make sure you're eating, right? Okay, once you're eating, then maybe the whole world. But after you, it should be like your village, and then your city, and then your county, and then your state, and then your nation, and then your country, and then your hemisphere, and then the whole world, and then the galaxy. I mean, why limit it to just the world? But I'm a democratic socialist. I'm a leftist. So I feel like, God damn, could you imagine? I mean, it's just Trotsky, Stalin, and Lenin. If them three guys could have figured it out, instead of like, Stalin is going to take an ice pick and kill fucking Trotsky. And fucking Stalin might have poisoned goddamn Lenin. I mean, is that how, Thomas Jefferson and John Adams and George Washington, as compromised as those founding fathers of the United States, the American Revolution, the U.S. nation. I don't remember John Adams stabbing Thomas Jefferson in the top of the head with an ice pick. I don't remember John Adams poisoning George Washington. I mean, it didn't go down like that. So if Trotsky and Lenin and Stalin could have figured out a nice, rotation, a succession, one was president and the next one was president, and they would compete against each other, giving arguments and appealing to the people and actually having, they were smart people. Why couldn't they figure out elections like fucking shit? So I feel like, God, the Bolsheviks, the communists, they just blew such a big... I think Lenin, the Russian Revolution, they got their place in history. They defined what the revolution is. The revolution is when the critical mass of the proletariat breaks forward and says enough is enough and everything gets changed. That's the revolution. So that's, they could have forced it, or maybe it wasn't, I don't know. What am I saying? I'm saying that, Lenin's place in history is, secure, solid, so I'm not going to, knock him out. This isn't, to knock Lenin out of history. But it is to say that Evo Morales and the people that, were democratically elected in Sweden and Iceland, they were able to bring socialism, communist, a welfare state, give a peace, land, and, bread kind of nation without having to kill the same very people that you said you was going to give peace, land, and bread to. So I think we can get communism, socialism by elections. And of course we can. Of fucking course we can. And constitutionalism. My God, if we could get a strong constitution. Even the Soviet Constitution was basically the proletarians had a right to vote, nobody else. But they didn't say nothing about, freedom of speech, right to assemble, right to bear arms, right to, you know, whatever, right to self-defense, right to food, water, clothing. So, yeah.